Welcome everyone to the Lean HE Canada event, and today we have Dr. Eric Olson presenting with us. He's a professor in industrial technology in the Orfalea College of Business at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, sorry if I said that wrong, in California for over 19 years. He teaches undergraduate and master's courses in Lean Thinking, Six Sigma, and Operations Management. He's had over 20 years of industry experience in engineering and manufacturing management at Caterpillar, Linton, and Hewlett-Packard before getting his PhD at The Ohio State University, starting his Lean journey in 1990. He continues his professional development with a focus on creating new knowledge and operational excellence, biasing his research towards working with real companies and organizations. He's published, consulted, and trained in Lean performance improvement, strategy deployment, and Six Sigma. He has run numerous improvement events at Cal Poly and in the local community. He is currently the director for Central Coast Lean. CCL is a self-funded research project under the Orfalea College of Business, and its mission is to better understand how to build a community of Lean practice. CCL promotes, runs, and studies improvement events, forums, workshops, and conferences. He's also the creator and instructor for Cal Poly's Lean Six Sigma Green and Black Belt certification program. His other roles include being a founding member of the Lean Education Academic Network and the creator of Hobnob SLO, a local community building community. And we just thank him for coming here and giving his presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brianna. That was a mouthful, and I didn't know I inserted so many pronunciation challenges in there for you. So very good at getting through that. Well, good morning and good afternoon to everyone. I'm happy to be here. We had presented this in sort of a 15-minute version earlier in our Lean HE Quick Takes. And then, Ray asked me to come back and do it maybe in a little bit bigger format for Lean HE Canada here. And I'm more than happy to do it. I love this stuff and I love talking about it. But I also want to make this useful and conversational. So one thing that I did is I put the link to the spreadsheet that I'm going to be talking about. So this is a Google Sheet, and what I suggest is that you can follow along and be active in the sheet as we go for this particular meeting. But I suggest maybe you make a copy of this, and then you'd have a little template for doing your own cross-training matrix maybe down the road if you think it's useful or valuable. So you see on the screen here, I've got the cross-training matrix. The stuff that you see in the sort of that left-hand column there is actually one that I use with my team at Cal Poly. So I've got a team of 5 students that I work with on a regular basis, and we kind of do the administrative and running side of the Central Coast Lean organization, which is a community of practitioners here on the Central Coast and kind of in a big swatch of California here. And let's see, so I put down some questions that I wanted to talk about, and I'm happy to take other questions from you. And Ray, if you see something that appears in the chat or something, you can kind of give me a little wave or a hand signal. I'm not that great at multitasking as far as those sorts of things go. But my first question I want to sort of talk about a little bit is why cross-train in a lean transformation? I sort of came across this and developed this as I was first starting out to learn about lean and try to implement lean back when I was working in Hewlett-Packard in the 90s. And you come to know that in lean, it's really nice if everybody knows how to do each other's job. And it's nice for a lot of reasons in lean. One is, certainly you could substitute. So if we had a production line and we had a bunch of people, it was really nice if somebody called in sick, somebody else could swap out and jump in and do their job if they were cross-trained to be able to do that job. The other thing in lean, which is a little bit more subtle, is it's really nice when people are working on process improvement and improving the systems and the processes in your organization, that they know a little bit about everybody else's job and what exactly they do. So they know the roles and the jobs at all different parts of the process. And so if you've got that knowledge or information in the organization, it's also very useful. So then, the question became is, well, how do you, if you want cross training, how do you set it up? How do you set up a system to do it? And maybe, how do you measure it? So what I've got there, what you see on the left is a little, what I call my cross training matrix. And essentially it has, a few sort of key parts. One is down the left-hand side, we list all the skills or the different process steps or the standard work that you want all your team members to be able to do, right? So down the left-hand side is the skills. And then across the top are all the individual team members. So on my team, I've got Oliver, Lauren, Haley, Molly, and Carly are the 5 team members or the 5 students on my team. And I'm just going to switch over. Ray or whoever's driving this thing, can you switch over to the toy matrix there? So yeah, so if you go over to toy matrix street, and maybe you can blow this up a little bit. I don't know if 150%, might be a little over to the left there. There's a percent. Yeah, there you go. So hit something like 150. That's good. That's perfect. All right.
Yep.
So in this, so what I did is, made it a little bit more generic. And so we got some skills down the left-hand side and some people across the right. And so alls we're really doing is we're saying for each one of those squares, we're saying, like, for Oliver, for skill number 1, whatever that is, Oliver's rated a 2. Okay. And turns out everybody's rated a 2. So everybody's kind of equally cross-trained in this. And there's only really 4 levels, 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? So we're trying to keep this pretty simple. And what I can do then is for that, particular skill, for skill 1, if I add up all the numbers across that row, I've got a score of 10. Right, for skill number 1. And so all of them are 10, sort of all the way down there. And then vertically, they're all 10, or excuse me, they're all there. And so for Oliver, he's scored 16, Lauren's 16. So they're all they're all exactly equal in this toy matrix problem. So then if I take and I add up all the rows, okay, so I've got a score of 80, and the 16s across the bottom, that's also 80. So I've got a score of 80 is where I'm at as far as my training level goes. And I've called that a total agility score. Okay. And I might get to a point where I want to improve that, or I want to increase my score. So I'm going to decide, maybe somebody like Kaylee on skill number 3, somebody's got their box. So if you change that to a 3, we could go ahead and see that, go ahead and change that to a 3. And, the score goes up, by a point, right? And so we could set a target for the team and say, okay, I want to increase my total agility score, for this by some percentage. And then I might, go through and sort of figure out, how to, who needs to be cross-trained or whatnot in order to increase that. So right now you kind of see the total agility score is 60%. That's because if the top score is 3, and everybody knows how to train everybody, right? So at the level 3, it means you're capable on that skill of training others. If you had all 3s, that'd be 100%. So right now we're at 60%. Okay, I'm not exactly sure why the all twos are 60% and the all ones 33%. But if you go over, and Ray, I think you're driving. Can you go over to the right
Yep.
a little bit? So what we decided, and this is a sort of a community deliver or determined scoring system, right? Because I don't want to, I looked at different types of training certification systems where people have to take involved tests or they have some sort of certification like that. We just said is what, if the team agrees that you can do that thing on your own, that you're capable of doing the work without screwing it up or hurting somebody else or hurting yourself, you would get a 2, right? If you're in training or you've done it once, maybe you have minimal experience in that job, and then maybe at the 3 level, you'd be somebody we could go to and ask you to train somebody else, or you're pretty expert at that particular job. But these are all sort of team or community scores. And one of the ways that we would enforce this is we would sort of give them a criteria that says, okay, you scored yourself a 2 and you say you can do the job, the team seems to agree, but the other enforcement mechanism would be if it was a Saturday and I needed you to do that job, I could look down the column, and anybody that has a 2, I could ask them to come in on a Saturday all alone and actually do that job, right, with minimum help. So that became sort of a self-enforcement thing. If you were scared, to be asked to do that job all by yourself, you probably shouldn't give yourself a 2, and maybe you want to be at a 1, right? So we try to use some human behavioral, enforcement mechanisms like that. Okay, Ray, let's go back to the matrix on the first sheet there and sort of see how this sort of plays out in a little bit sort of bigger way. So if you you're gonna have to sort of zoom out so I can see the questions there. So that's a little bit about how you measure it and how you score it. So how do you use this as a way to help you develop your people and manage your organization? Okay, so one thing it allows you to do is it allows you to identify holes, or people leaving, or in my case, graduation tends to be a big problem working with students. Son of a gun, those people like to graduate. So I've got the situation where I've got 4 of my students are graduating this spring, and I'm looking down and seeing, okay, well, where are the real low scores on my left or my right hand totals sort of going down there. So I can see that if I look down and I see that I've got a 3 in my Cal Poly classes. Now I have an MBA or an MBA class that Carly is the only one that sort of knows how to TA that class, and she's going to graduate. So I'm looking at that and say, you know what? Before Carly heads out the door and graduates, I got to get her to cross-train somebody else, right? So that I don't have that sort of hole. Molly is the person that's staying, so I got to get Molly trained, and it gives me some prescription for who needs to be trained in what, right? Same thing with new hires, right? So you're hiring new people into your organization. I'll get some new students in, and some they need to be trained. Well, for each one of those different skills or rows, I could look down and see who are level 3 people, who are the people that can train others in a particular role. So it helps me sort of pair up people and say, okay, new person, you need to go talk to, Molly, or you need to go talk to Kaylee to get trained in that particular operation. One of the things that we're doing is we're hiring 2 new students before the end of the quarter. So we're going to be onboarding them over the course of the next week or so. So we're going to ask, try to get some of our holes covered, and we're going to try to get some cross training done. And this matrix is sort of pointing us, what the priorities are, because you just don't want to blanket say, okay, learn everything, right? So we got some things that are sort of key for us to do that. Yeah, so that covers 6. How do we pair for training? So you're trying to pair the 3s with the 0s, right, in order to get them up. And it gives you, sort of coverage balance. If you have, a shift or, a part of the week and you're worried about, vacation coverage and, a balance between experience and inexperience in particular areas, this kind of matrix will help you with that. It might, okay, it also tells you about like what skills could be added. So like we have the sort of the self-designation as to whether you know how to do a job or not, with confirmation from the team. We also say is, there's another way that you can increase your score, right? So one way that you can increase your score, Ray, if you go back to the toy matrix again, you look at that, go over a little bit. So if I get some new skill identified, right, and everybody says, oh, we all need to know how to load the copier, for example. And so we might say that's a new skill, load the copier, and son of a gun, everybody knows how to do that, and they can also train other people. So we could go ahead and put in 3s all the way across there, right? And our cross training overall score goes up, and our agility went up to 71%. So if I'm incentivizing my team, not only to get people cross trained as a way to increase your score, but also to identify new skills that we need to run the organization. And there's a couple ways that people can play this. They can identify a skill that only they know how to do, right? So you might have a new skill that goes on there where only one person is a 3. And maybe if you're incentivizing people for trying to get higher cross training skills, on average than everybody else, that's one way that new skills sort of come on. Or like we just did, identify things that, hey, these are things that are important to our operation. Everybody kind of already knows how to do this. We need to kind of add these things on there, so you can increase your score that way, right? And back when I was at Hewlett Packard, we don't do that so much with my student team this time, but we would set goals that say, okay, your total agility score for this month is some value, say like 71.1%. We want you to increase it 10% or 7 points by the end of this quarter. And people would need to sort of identify where they're low, who's available for training. Another thing that we would that this sort of incentivizes by providing this sort of visibility is that when people are idle, right, you don't have anything to do, or you don't have important work to do, you could say, well, why don't I just go and get cross-trained. Well, let me look and see. I have a 0 here. Let me see if there's somebody available that has a 3 in something where I could go ahead and cross-train and get my score up. So it gives things people to do during, low times or down times in the organization. I feel like, I'm excited about this stuff. I'm excited to share it, but I also feel like I'm kind of rambling along. And what I thought maybe is we could stop for questions at this point. I also put in a breakout room sheet on this. So I'm not exactly sure if we can do breakouts in Google Meetings. Ray or Ruth, did any of you guys sort of know how to do that?
I think we can.
Brianna, do you think we can?
I think so.
What is that something I have to do as the administrator, or is that something that somebody else can help out with? I can direct people what to think about.
Under the activities tab again, and then there should be a little breakout rooms. It says the host can assign people to breakout rooms.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm going to try it here. Let me see here. Breakout rooms. All right. So I got a little setup. All right. So here's what I want to do. Just to make this a little bit more interactive. So I've told you, enough stuff about this cross-training matrix approach to be dangerous. I've shared with you some of the things that I've done with it in the past. It's a pretty flexible system. It's not a real expensive software buy. It'll set up in Excel and it'll set up in a Google Sheet, kind of like I have it here. You've got a copy of this sheet. You can make a copy and sort of build out your own based on this model or this format and play with it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in groups here. And what I'd like you to think first about, some question or some issue that you would talk about. Maybe you've got experience with cross-training in your organization or some challenge that you're working on in your area. And you want to say, hey, we're dealing with this thing with regards to cross-training or, trying to document what work is being done in organizations. We want to talk a little bit about how this might apply or might help. And between myself and the other people on this call, we can maybe sort of figure things out. So give us some thought to what kind of questions and what you might want to talk about. It looks like it's already preset for breakouts of like 4 people. So I'm going to go ahead and open rooms and let you go ahead and go. And let's say the breakout, I've got my nifty Apple timer here. So let's say we're going to just do
Eric,
it
looks like Jennifer has a question.
Okay, Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing all of this. It's really interesting. I'm just curious if, would you ever weight the skills, weight them based on importance to certain roles, more or less important than other skills?
Yeah, Jennifer, that's a great question. Certainly you have the capability to do that. What I'm sharing with you now and what I'm showing you, and Ray, if you could go back to the matrix side of things, right? So, you see the sort of color coding stuff, and you see we've kind of broken it down into, Cal Poly classes, Central Coast Lean key areas, CCL events. So there's all kinds of categories of things like that. You might want to weight by category or whatever. I guess the thing from experience I would say is start with the simplest thing you can and then add and build features as you go on, right? The people will look at this and we're now making this visual, right? a lot of times these sorts of training, like how well people are trained or capable, is in some supervisor's desk drawer, right? You start putting this up and, you look at that and say, okay, Carly's got a 9, like in that first matrix at the top on Cal Poly classes, Carly's got a 19 and Oliver's only 13. And, it sort of begs the questions, well, Carly's got a 3 on all these really easy classes, right? And Oliver's, got really hard ones and so he's less or something. And, people will tell you whether it's fair or not, right? And that would be my opening to maybe talk about weighting, Jennifer, but I would go for as simple as possible at first and then, add that kind of thing, as necessary or as you go. Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put you in breakout rooms. The other nice thing about breakout rooms here is, I think everybody has something to say, but they won't necessarily say it in this big a group. And by going into breakout groups, they give you a little time to socialize this and talk about it. And also, hopefully, we'll get better questions. One of the things I've also given you is if you look at your breakout rooms, you'll have breakout room numbers. And if you go to the breakout room matrix, Ray, or the breakout room sheet, it's right next to the matrix one on there. You got
right there.
There you go. Yeah. So what I've done is I've put some groups there. I see we got breakout room number 9. So I'll just clear those like 10, 11, 12 out of there. And then you can, and then breakout room 9 can sort of have room to sort of write their questions or their things. So you write, up to 5 questions, A, B, C, or 5 observations you want to make. I would suggest that by the end of the 5 minutes, you sort of prioritize them, because we'll get to the A questions for every one of the groups, and we'll just take it from there. Is everybody okay with, if somebody's real confused in the breakout room, other people help them, right? We can do a little bit of community sharing that way, all right? Okay, so I'm going to put you in breakouts for 5 minutes. Talk to your friends, come up with some good questions, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. All right, so opening rooms. So go ahead and join those rooms. I'll stay at the top level in case anybody gets lost or confused here. Okay, it looks like everybody is back, I think. Welcome back. Hopefully there's some good questions. I guess you can actually see it in the in that breakout room. And let me go see. I'm gonna look at the breakout rooms. Yeah, it looks like we got some questions to go over. Ray, do you wanna do the share screen thing again? Ray, are you still there? Not so much.
I can. He might have accidentally dropped off. Give me one
All right,
second.
Adriana. Okay. Thank you. Well, this has been a learning experience for me in more ways than one. So Brianna, you want to share the breakout room bit, and we might pop back and forth. Can you make that a little bit bigger? Maybe take it up to 200% or something. There you go. Yeah. So it looks like yeah, you guys had some good discussions there. I don't know, is somebody want to highlight a question or sort of throw that out to the group, and we can have discussion about it. So I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, this is Dana. I was in group 6. We were just going to have the question, defining the role and, how much detail in documenting the job skills. Is it down to like standard work documentation, or kind of like what's the level of detail in defining that?
Yeah, and Dana, I'll say it varies, right? And you can kind of see from my approach to this is, I'm throwing out this matrix, and then I'm taking a couple step back and seeing how my teams respond to it and what they do. One way that the standard work sort of plays in, I think, is we want to have standard work for every one of those skills that goes on there. That would sort of be an expectation. Then, and some of it does and some of it doesn't. And I would then sort of maybe look at the level 3 people and say, hey, you guys, you're all level 3s, get together, create some standard work for this thing that you kind of agree with. And, maybe even that's a requirement on how you get to be a level 3. You either create or improve the standard work, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it creates an opening. I'm not exactly sure, how, and maybe other people have some other ideas how that might play.
That helps.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Can
Go ahead.
to that is that one of the things we were talking about is how do you then prevent training burnout if you are relying upon people who are at that level 3 to continue to do the training as new people come in? What's the best way to do that? Because not only is it intaking a lot of information, but if you're in charge of being the person who is training everybody, how do you stop it from, how do you prevent the burnout?
Yeah. Well, I'll put in a shameless plug for my 7 habits of highly effective people, workshop, right? So this is the the I choose. So be proactive. Habit number 1. So you need people that can say no, right, and say yes. Say okay. I'm getting burned out. I need to say no, or I need to set up a rule that I can do, one person a week or something like that. And I create a schedule or something for that. Right. Yeah. That's, and that, I think that would fall into that sort of unintended consequences sort of thing. And maybe it's an unintended consequences of being successful, right? Everybody's, man, I want to get, trained and I want to do this. And you get too much cross training going on. It's kind of a nice problem to have, but yeah, hopefully you can put in some effective stops. Thanks, Leanna. Other questions or things people have sort of thought about that makes them think about? I'm also interested in other ways to use this that maybe I hadn't thought of, before. Like, I hadn't really thought very deeply about its relationship to standard work, but certainly that's something I'm also trying to get done.
I think Jonathan also has his hand up.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're going to jump in there?
I was just going to throw something in based on what I've experienced with this is when you have an area that has really high turnover, keeping it updated can be very challenging because if you're a manager, say, of an accounts payable team, which has notoriously high turnover in any organization, you're spending so much time interviewing and onboarding and exit interviewing people that there's so much churn that it's hard to keep the matrix updated and it's hard to focus on. It's not an excuse. It's just a fact of life, and you maybe need a different approach.
Yeah. Well, and what I've found is, I'm notoriously bad at updating, these sorts of things. So that's why it becomes a responsibility of the person. So if you make it visual and it's up there on the wall, and you got something wrong for like one of your employees, and Oliver, should be a 3 and he's only a 2, Oliver will let you know. And I'm also going to empower Oliver. Go ahead and change the 3 to, or the 2 to a 3, and everybody on the team, if Oliver isn't a 3, we need a little bit of peer pressure to, maybe call that out or whatnot. So that's the kind of, crowd peer social dynamic that I'm trying to make effective, Jonathan, because I agree with you. It is really hard to keep these things up to date. If you as a supervisor are responsible for that, that's kind of the traditional sort of approach where it's the supervisor's job to make sure everybody's cross-trained. No, this is the team's responsibility. That agility score is the team's agility score, right? Our department, has this score, and you could essentially score across departments, right? Is another sort of competitive advantage. I had 18 different teams at Hewlett Packard using this same sort of technique, and we would compare scores across the departments for very different, training environments and work environments. And there was no shame in being maybe a 40% versus a 70%, but you ought to be able to explain, why your score is higher or lower. And that created some really interesting, neat conversations, right, within the organization.
Eric, we have another question from Loren.
Loren, why don't you go ahead and ask a question?
Oh yeah. No, it's just a response or a thought that
Yeah.
was triggered to Jonathan. Isn't it, if you have a lot of turnover, isn't that all the more reason to need something like this, to make sure everyone's skills can help keep continuity? I was just thinking that, and to your point, I think, Eric, keeping things visual, it almost sets like, it's artifact of the culture that like we do expect cross training, and
Right.
then that empowerment element of like lean or continuous improvement, that it's not just owned by the manager, it's like there's an empowerment here.
Everybody, yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, Ray, or Brianna, can you switch over to we can look at the matrix on the first thing. Yeah, it's probably a little bit better visual for everybody as opposed to looking at those questions and things. Got us thinking. Yeah, other observations or comments on this? Are there can people see ways this could be improved? One thing I in getting ready for this, you can kind of see in the totals column, I've got those like red, those things that are red highlighted. Those were like the particularly low numbers. I did that. I started out by saying, well, I could conditional format, and I could sort of make, high to low, sort of a different sort of color gradient. But it got so noisy, I couldn't really tell what was going on. So I decided to back off and just go with, put a red highlight on those, because that gives me a little bit of a management tweak to my team to say, okay, these are the ones we gotta worry about. As we have our churn, right? There's a turnover coming with graduations. We need to make sure that these holes are filled or addressed. But yeah, if other people have other insights or ways we could, maybe improve some of these things. One other thing I discovered as I was going down this, I was working with Lauren. So Lauren on my team was the one who helped me put this together for this presentation. We tried some different sort of approaches and different looks for how we sort of show this. And if you scroll down closer to the bottom, Ray, so the secondary areas, right? So I've got Central Coast Lean secondary areas. And it turns out that secondary areas are the stuff that I have to do, right? Because I'm the boss, and I got nobody cross-trained for a lot of this stuff. And so there's two things I could do. Is okay, do we grow the team to cover these sort of holes so I can sort of offload my plate, or strategically, maybe lean accounting, or accounting lead, let's just not something that we're going to do, right, in the future going forward. So maybe there's a sort of a right sizing sort of thing that, if all of a sudden you're getting a lot of zeros, popping up in your matrix across things, maybe you're biting off more than you can chew, right? Or you need to sort of think of, okay, that's a skill area or a work area where, we're just having too much staffing problems getting that filled, and maybe we should rethink that a little bit, right? One thing is, that so number 9 there, the self-identification of what you can do or to build the body of knowledge, right? It's really nice from a management visibility standpoint if somebody asks you, or somebody wants to, well, what are all the things that you do in your department or the things that you do in your area? And the rule is, identify all the things that you do and let's get them on the cross training matrix. And there's sort of a natural incentive that if you know how to do it, and maybe other people don't, or that's you're gonna suggest, well, let's go ahead and put it up there. And I've got all these 2s and 3s on all these jobs that nobody else knows how to do. I've kind of killed 2 birds, right? I've identified not only things that are being done in my department that need to get done, but I've also identified I've only got one person that knows how to do those things, right? And maybe I should broaden those sort of things. And maybe the rule for getting a 3 is you're a 2 until you actually do teach somebody else, and then you become a 3, right? By actually sharing your knowledge, right? So you can start a culture of you don't hoard your knowledge, you start to share your knowledge, and this kind of thing could be another step in that direction.
Great. So Eric, thank you very much for the informative workshop today. Really appreciated it. Hope to get you involved in more future Lean HE Canada events.
But well, I guess it's sort of cliche, but Canadians are always so nice, right? So
right on. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. I see Jennifer. One last question before we go. Jennifer, do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is kind of random, but I really like your value process people sign you have in the back there. I'm just wondering, what is the question mark for?
Oh, well, okay. Well, because I couldn't fit a question mark at the end of every one of those words, or I didn't really sort of plan my poster very well. So I usually think about lean as the answer to 3 questions. What's the value? What's the process? And then the people one is, how are we involving the people doing the work in problem solving? So those are like the 3 questions. And I think having it as sort of a visual prompt in the background gets people like you to ask that question, right? So, and the little heart on the top I was talking to somebody and said, yeah, we need more heart in everything we do, right? So just kind of, it's not all about us efficiency masters. It's also about being kind and doing good and making people feel good about what it is that they're doing.
You bet. So with that, again, Eric, look forward to many future sessions with you.
All right.
And everybody that attended, just a quick housekeeping. Brianna and I will be sending out some evaluations here in the near future. Eric, I sent you an email, but if you could please send us a recording for your session when you get that, we'd like to share that with our...
When I figure out how to get that, Ray, I will do that. Yes.
Sounds good.
All right.
I see that's about it. So I will let everybody, I'll let everybody on their way. Linnea was just waving goodbye. Ruth, is there anything you'd like to add? I saw Ruth come up on camera here.
No, I just wanted to thank both of you and Brianna for hosting this. It was very informative, and I feel like the whole onboarding process and understanding how to make people feel more competent is so important and so overlooked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.